Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk. We still have an unnamed segment for cold Matt clips that I have not seen yet. It's not on our sound sheet, but I trust super producer Matt inherently.
Yeah, so this
Charlie Kirk up to.
Yeah.
Well, this is about the Charlie Kirk sort of like mythos about him being a turning against Israel or whatever like this. And I think it's important to say two things. One, that TPUSA does not resemble TPUSA under Charlie Kirk, even on the issue of Iran. And two, Charlie Kirk was also a coward on these issues, who, to the extent he said anything that was salutary on, say, regime change, it was cribbed from the left and insincere, and just because it's not popular to support things like bombing Iran.
It's a cheap date situation. It's the same reason that the same way Tucker Carlson has been on this, like historically, where he's insincere, but he understands that just saying something without any consequences that gestures towards that position gives him some cachet. And
we'll bring Tucker in here, but here is a person at TPUSA who's now like, all these press things at the White House and the Pentagon are all like bullshit, even more so than they have been previously. But here's a TPUSA representative asking a question about Iran.
Right next to Laura Loomer, who, gosh, her face sticks out even when it's not in focus.
Wow. Thank you. And my second question regarding Iran, there are reports that Iran's been planning on rebuilding its nuclear facilities. Iranian's president has said that it plans to rebuild its nuclear facilities with, quote, greater strength. Can you provide us on any sort of update on where that currently stands?
I can tell you that Operation Midnight Hammer was an absolute resounding success. Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally obliterated.
Can you pause it for a sec? Look, I get to say it because I'm a woman, but why do the Pentagon briefings look like my sorority chapter meeting?
Yeah, what has happened? It's like take your daughter to work day.
Which I would go stone to all the time, by the way. They didn't like me that much in the sorority. I didn't take it that seriously. But this is what this reminds me of. All right, keep going back.
Were totally obliterated, and experts estimated that it would take 2 years for them to recover. So thanks to President Trump's bold and swift action, we were able to dismantle that threat to the American people. And I think it was also a historic operation by virtue of the fact that there was a clear end state. We have seen this department get marred down in the Middle East in endless wars, in nation building. That has stopped under this president and this secretary. We now have a clear end state, a clear mission set, and Operation Midnight Hammer was a success in dismantling that.
What's
Operation Midnight Hammer? Say it over.
That's a good question.
Again.
Like I didn't realize who was answering the question. I was mainly interested in the TPUSA person asking the question. And just to go on this Charlie Kirk thing. So yes, you mentioned Tucker Carlson. He had this to say about him and Charlie. And we'll go into Charlie Kirk's position on the Iran strike and going forward. But here's Tucker Carlson.
And so very few people pushed back, very few. In fact, as far as I know, only 2 people, me and Charlie Kirk, actually went and spoke directly to the president to make the case that, no, you shouldn't get involved in this war because its aim is not actually to deny Iran a nuclear weapon. That may be a virtuous goal, but that's not really what this is about. What this is about is luring the United States into yet another regime change war. And if you do that, it's bad for everybody, including you. That's the case that we made. Charlie went to the White House to make that case, and God bless him for doing that. And he was hated for doing that. But he did it. Very few other people did. In fact, as far as I know, none. So, of course, in June, the debate ended, and the United States did commit military.
Okay. Go ahead, Emma.
No, it's just, well, first of all, I mean, the amount of invocation of this dead man by his supposed friends and colleagues to fit their own agenda, it's seemingly endless. I don't know when it will stop, and I have no reason to believe any of these people.
Charlie Kirk is a currency. They are all spending Kirk coin and all this stuff. And, there is some truth to this. This is a tweet Charlie put out. This is before the strike happened that he then later supported. But if America does regime change in Iran, it won't be for the first time, blah, blah, blah. He goes over the basic sort of Stephen Kinzer overthrow, history of the Mossadegh coup and all that stuff. And it's interesting. It would be nice to see these sort of lessons learned on the right in any kind of meaningful way. But then here's Charlie after the strikes were launched, and he completely folded and said, I guess, Trump has been consistent. So here he is, just to give people a full picture of Charlie Kirk, because I do think it is gross that this guy died and was sort of staking out a sort of slightly anti-war because he talks to Dave Smith and all that stuff, position on this stuff, that is just being erased now by the modern Turning Point USA. Yep. But here is Charlie Kirk, just in case you worry that he was actually anti-war after we did bomb Iran.
J.D. Vance made a really important point. President Trump has been remarkably consistent about Iran not having a nuclear weapon. Right. 10 years ago yesterday, Senator Mullen, President Trump, businessman Trump, came down the escalator, and a little buried nugget in his speech was, I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. This was 10 years ago. He talked about the border. He talked about an invasion. He talked about trade. He talked about how we don't win anymore. But let's play cut 303, the consistency.
Yeah, we know that he was wrong in 2015 about Iran and the Iran deal. The Iran deal was one of the good things Obama did. And so Trump coming down the escalator saying we want to get rid of that and stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, which was what the Iran deal actually did.
Yeah.
Like, that's just Charlie folding. So, like, there's a balance to be struck here about the degeneration of Turning Point USA that people like will point but the conspiratorial, like, Israel killed Charlie because he wasn't playing ball. Charlie Kirk was playing ball.
Well, I just think we've been covering this, right? That there, in the immediate aftermath of his killing, there were a lot of people that were eager to take over the well-financed infrastructure of Turning Point USA and orient it in a way that they felt could influence young conservatives. And we had Candace Owens, who's a total nutcase, but going out there and basically saying they are doing a disservice to Charlie's memory. There are forces outside of TPUSA that they're trying to take it over. I mean, the implication underneath it all is it's the Jews, of course, but what is probably more likely is this isn't, and I think it's, my theory on this is bolstered by the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu came out and was being over the top about trying to co-opt Kirk's message, is that
he loved Israel.
Yeah, right. They see this infrastructure that they want to direct in a specific way, and there is a lot of Zionist money and military industrial complex money that is going to be readily available for this kind of, takeover. And it seems like that's already happening there. That question it could have been written by the Israeli public relations team.
Yep.
And it's basically what has been used over and over again as this false pretext to any kind of peace negotiation with the Iranians. This is where, like, we look back at the JCPOA, the Iran deal, and I think you say, this is where, first of all, with Hillary Clinton back in the news, just a reminder that everything good that happened under foreign policy happened under John Kerry. The first term of Obama's foreign policy was not good.
Yep.
The second term was quite good, and that included the Iran deal and this peace deal that kept them enriching uranium at a very low level in exchange for the United States essentially unfreezing certain assets. And in response to that, same Benjamin Netanyahu did a PowerPoint presentation where he presented a bunch of fake evidence about Iran cheating on the deal, then also went to Republicans in Congress and circumvented Obama and spoke to them directly as a way to kind of give a middle finger to him. Just, we look back on that, and to give some praise to Obama there, he really did take on the Israel lobby. And I think that the Israel lobby reasserted itself and got even stronger in response to it. When Trump scrapped it, then you see, like, I think there was a ton of effort to put influence pedal on both sides. And then they had their perfect president in Joe Biden as a Democrat who got dog walked by Netanyahu on a regular basis. An
opponent of the Iran deal within Obama's party became the leader of the Senate.
Yep.
Chuck Schumer.
The opponent in his White House, who there was reporting that,
right.
Let's now, we'll say, Biden was apparently, in the first term of Obama's first term, there was reporting that he was going around Hillary Clinton and Obama to assuage the fears of Benjamin Netanyahu.
To the right of Hillary.
To the right of Hillary on Israel. Okay? Just to give people a sense of that's who the Democratic Party has, their president and then their leader of the Senate. And then now even Hakeem Jeffries, who has very, very deep ties to AIPAC in the House. So,
do you think that had any impact on the, say, 2020 primary?
Yeah.
like Jasper Nathaniel on the show this week, also on the Jacobin show tomorrow, but talking about Democrats who are pro-Israel taking AIPAC money, who are like, we want to help you save this American boy who is in a Israel torture camp. We can't do it publicly because where's our democracy at? This needs to be ejected from the left immediately and the right, and at the same time.
Right. Sorry, you said, what did you just say that I wanted to respond to? Dang it. It was something. Why is my memory so bad these days? Forget it. You guys go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to the way Charlie Kirk's memory is being weaponized here, it really is just being slotted into a schism that's forming on the far right amongst their media figures that was going to happen regardless of whether Charlie was alive or not, right? Like, I think he's taking an outsized role in this, despite the reality of TPUSA kind of just always having been an astroturfed organization that funnels like a certain number of staffers into the weirdest staffers into like certain Republicans' DC offices. Like he's taking an outsized role because people find it useful to put him as like a martyr and at the face of whatever goals they've already had. Like now Candace Owens is saying that Macron's wife is responsible for killing Charlie because of her spreading the and that's how like what the game is, right? Because that's like ridiculous. Like, saying that, perhaps it's an anti-Semitic conspiracy and I guess the Egyptians working with Israel like that. Some people believe that, but at that level, you kind of really understand that like Charlie is now more useful to them, no offense, dead than he was alive because he can't speak for himself when he's dead. And so it becomes very easy, just like I said, like he is their Martin Luther King Jr. because now that he's dead, they can say he said whatever they want him to say. And had he been alive, who knows what he probably wasn't going to become an anti Israel far right person. But who knows? Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But all we know now is that he can be whatever we want him to be. And he has like the extra, value of being like a martyr for our cause. But I think it's kind of irrelevant because the same thing would be happening whether he was alive or not. It's just now he's a token for them to use.
Well, I agree with you for the most part, but one factor about him not being alive is that he's no longer a competitor for them. He is just a piece of content now. Like there is clearly that internal rift between all the different right-wing influencers and media figures. Charlie would have been at a very prime spot to push someone out, but now there is a clear opening that Charlie Kirk can't fill, and Turning Point USA doesn't have anyone who's that we've seen to fill that. So that means these other individuals are able to come in and gain even more of a foothold with that right-wing audience.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find the exact clip, but this is what I meant to say earlier, just about where the Democrats, how the Israel Zionist lobby really reasserted itself in the wake of the Obama years. I believe that Biden was the only candidate on the debate stage. There was a question at one point about conditioning aid to Israel. And I think it was still like towards the end of the primary, but Biden said absolutely no conditions. And then I think it was Warren and Bernie and maybe it was Buttigieg at the time who had said yes, based on these different conditions. And Biden was by far the most Zionist candidate in the race. And in that primary, I remember that Bernie Sanders said that he would consider moving the embassy back to Tel Aviv from Jerusalem, which was a very inflammatory thing that Trump did in the first term. And Israel's foreign ministry denounced Bernie Sanders for his, quote, horrifying comment about that. So you could just see where the forces of this kind of money, this kind of influence and power, it really made itself known on the Democratic side as well. But there's that fight happening right now over TPUSA, and it's happening out in the open. Martig might not want to read this aloud. Okay, well then I'm not gonna.
It really is something else watching like his friends and family members pick apart, no offense, his like body for like whatever value they can find in it. Like watching like the remnants of like his staff, his like head of security go on Sean Ryan, his wife, like it really is the Charlie Kirk industrial complex now. It's what he would have wanted.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.